I love this story. I love Bartimaeus. You have to say, I bet you 10 to 1 he thought, what do you mean, what do I want? I want to see, you idiot. That was a stupid question, Jesus. What do you think I want? So I'm going to invite you to think of your favorite coat or your favorite sweater or your favorite, whatever it is, that one thing that that one piece of clothing, especially coat, sweater, that kind of thing, a hoodie, a long coat, a winter coat, a spring coat, something that you really like, right? One that you really like. I was thinking of Ingrid and that beautiful cape that she had this morning. Do you have one that you really like? Even if it's a guy, do you have a coat you really like? I have several. Okay, I want you to hold that in your mind as I share this story about this story with you this morning, because it's going to help you to make a little bit more sense out of it. In 1981, I had the distinct honor of spending an entire half a day with a person who I did not know at that time would be later and now declared a saint in the church, right? So I've shared, I learned 2 lessons from her that day. One was really profound. 2 of them were really profound, but one I've shared in other homilies and the other I share with you today. So that half a day I got to spend with Mother Teresa of Calcutta. Now Saint Teresa of Calcutta. But I need to set the context. I was in, you have to know, 1981, so I'm dating myself a little bit. I was in a really, really conservative, really kind of arch-conservative seminary, right, in Kentucky. My rector at that point had some connections with the National Council of Catholic Bishops. So when Mother Teresa came into town, she was opening a mission in Washington, D.C. with the Sisters of Charity, and the NCCB had invited her to come and share some reflections with them as well. So my rector had arranged that a group of us seminarians would be her escort from the hotel over to the NCCB building and then back to the hotel. So I got a whole half a day. I got to literally sit next to her. And I was really psyched, right? I'm 19 years old. I'm in this seminary. I think I'm becoming this priest, I'm like all really, really psyched about this experience. And you have to know I grew up in rural Nebraska, right? So my grandmother called me when she found out that I was going to get to see Mother Teresa, and she said, "Do you need anything?" And I said, it would be really cool. Now you have to understand, we're a really conservative seminary, so we dress in cassock and surplice. So I already have a really nice cassock, and it's a Roman cassock. It's got fringe on the bottom. It's got cuffs. It's got a sash. It looks good. It was custom made. It was really nice. But when a cassock can be very cold as well. So you have on this Roman house dress, which is what a cassock is. So you need something to go over it. So I said, Grandma, the one thing I could really use is a cape. They have a cape that actually is made for this cassock. It's really cool. And she said, this is the only time in my grandma's life she ever said this. I don't care what it costs, get it, and I'll pay for it. And I said, it's really expensive, Grandma. Like then it was about $200. So I go get this cape. This cape is awesome. Let me tell you about the cape. I was going to bring it with me today. Couldn't find it. I'm embarrassed. It's in my house somewhere. This cape is made in Italy. It's French wool, and it's dark blue on the outside, like dark blue, almost black blue on the outside, and it's light blue on the inside, and it's got a velvet collar, and this like a leather thing that you put over here. Oh my God, it's the shits. It's good. And I'm thrilled to death. I get to wear it for Mother Teresa, and I get to walk with her. And on the way over to the NCCB and her speech there, she said, "Wow, that's really cool." And I'm thinking, yes, smoke 'em, this is awesome. And I tell her all about how my grandma got it for me just for this occasion and all that kind of stuff. And that's all cool. I've always had this dream about being a missionary, right? Always kind of, that was in my brain, and I always thought maybe I should do that. On the way back from the NCCB back to the hotel, I said to her, I said, what would it take for a priest to be a part of the Sisters of Charity and like to do mission work? And she looked at me and she said, well, the very first thing that, and you've got to remember, Mother Teresa's about this tall, you know? But she really reminds me of my grandma. She's got this wonderful face that when she smiles, she just kind of melts you, you know what I mean? So she smiles and says, well, kind of like the very first thing you'd need to do is take that really nice cape and give it to that homeless guy over there. And I'm like, oh, shit. I can't do that. My grandma just paid hundreds of dollars for this thing, you know, and here, I can't, I don't know that dude. I'll never get it back. I can't do that. I can't do that. And she looked at me and she said, you know, it's okay. I know you can't do that. I know you can't do that. But that's what Bartimaeus did, she said. That's what Bartimaeus in the gospel did. He literally threw off his cloak. It was the thing that was holding him back from a relationship with God. And that might be what's happening for you. This thing that you love so much might actually be the thing that's holding you back in your relationship for God. So she said, just think about that as you progress through seminary. Because there might be cloaks that you're wearing that you need to throw off, that you need to set aside, right? So that it was a little bit of redemption, not pure guilt, right? You know, a little bit of redemption because I thought, oh man, I can't do this. My grandma will kill me. And then I have to admit, I was really embarrassed when I couldn't find it last night and this morning. It's like, wow, if it had so much meaning to you, Marty, you know, isn't it surprising that 40 years later, you don't even know where it's at in your home? Wow. So maybe it was. Maybe she was right. Maybe there was something there that said, I need to give that up. I need to let that go because that's what the gospel is calling us to. I think that many of us hold on to cloaks of resentment, or we surround ourselves with those cloaks. Maybe it's a cloak of fear. And we do what Bartimaeus did. They keep us warm. And they collect our, you know, the alms that we lay out for people in front of us, right? We lay out the cloak and we collect the alms because maybe fear is the one thing that people like us for. Or maybe it's a crazy fear of being liked, right? All of us like to be liked. Maybe that's our cloak. There's a lot of cloaks in our lives that I think if we would just let go of, if we could just set aside or throw to the side, we might actually end up in a deeper relationship with our God. And I actually ask myself, what are the cloaks that I think are truly essential in my life? I'll tell you, my AA sponsor said this to me the other day. He said, Marty, I'm going to challenge you to go through your closet and touch every piece of clothing. And every piece of clothing, immediately decide, do I need this piece of clothing? And every other piece of clothing that you touch, if you even hesitate for a minute, don't rationalize, because that's what alcoholics do, right? Don't rationalize, give it away. So if you touch it and you don't say, oh yeah, I really need it, then give it away. And don't let yourself. Now, I'll be honest with you, I haven't done that yet. I haven't even started in my closet. But I think there's something there about what things in our lives keep us from a relationship with God. You know, what things are standing in our way? What cloaks are we putting over ourselves and keeping us from this deep and profound relationship with God? Like, do we hide under that cloak of fear, like the fear of not being enough? Do we wrap ourselves in the cloak of judgmentalism? You know what I'm talking about, those people? I have a lot of those people in my life, especially when they drive cars. Do we surround ourselves with the cloak of certitude? Certitude's a really nice thing, right? But the reality is life is a huge mystery, a huge mystery. There's so many cloaks in our lives and in our world. And in fact, I would say if you're having trouble identifying what those cloaks are, just look at our political ads. Because, Lord knows you'll see enough of them in the next week. But those political ads almost identify every cloak that is keeping us from our relationship with God, because that's what they play on. It's fear, or it's fear or hatred or racism or lies or denial or nationalism or NIMBYism. You know, NIMBYism, not in my backyard. That's that NIMBYism. And the list goes on. You just need to listen to a political ad, and you'll hear just about every cloak that we have managed to put over ourselves. And we wear those cloaks with pride, just like I did for Mother Teresa, until we encounter the gospel that invites us to throw it off and to set it aside. Don't you wonder what our world would look like if the cloaks that we actually wore, remember when I started this homily, like I invited you to your favorite? What if those cloaks looked like outlandish, lavish love, or unrelenting compassion, or ruthless mercy? What if those cloaks looked like that? I'd bet a large amount of money to say that if we wore those cloaks, the world that we live in and walk in and work in and pray in, that world would look a lot different, and maybe even a little bit more like the reign of God. Now, wouldn't that be amazing?